Their king, Xerxes the Great, has amassed an army of unimaginable size. You can't meet them on an open field. You'd be swallowed whole. You need a choke point, a natural bottleneck where their numbers count for nothing. The Greeks found their spot, a narrow coastal pass called Thermopylae, which literally means the hot gates, named for the nearby hot sulfur springs. On one side, impassable mountains, on the other, the sea. At its narrowest point, the pass was barely wide enough for a single wagon. This was the perfect place to make a stand. Now, who would be brave enough, or crazy enough, to defend this pass? Enter the Spartans. We all know their reputation, raised from birth to be the ultimate warriors, disciplined, fearless, and utterly devoted to their state. The Spartan king Leonidas was chosen to lead the Greek defense. But there was a problem. It was the time of the Carnia, a sacred religious festival during which warfare was forbidden for the Spartans. On top of that, the Olympic Games were also happening. Most of the Greek city-states were hesitant, wanting to wait until after the festivals. But Xerxes wasn't going to wait for a religious holiday. Leonidas knew that delay meant destruction. He couldn't take the whole Spartan army, but he could take his personal bodyguard, the Hippies, a unit of 300 elite soldiers. So, with these 300 Spartans and a few thousand other Greek allies from cities like Thespia and Thebes, Leonidas marched north to face the Persian juggernaut. It was a coalition of about 7,000 Greeks in total, but the Spartans were the heart and soul of the defense. When Xerxes arrived at Thermopylae, he was almost amused. He saw this tiny force blocking his path and couldn't believe their audacity. He sent a scout to observe them. The scout returned, reporting that the Spartans were outside the wall, combing their long hair and doing gymnastics. Xerxes laughed. He thought they were insane, but a Greek advisor warned him, this is what Spartans do before they prepare to fight and die. Still, Xerxes was confident. He waited for days, expecting the Greeks to see his massive army and simply run away in terror. They didn't. They stayed. They combed their hair, and they waited. Finally, Xerxes lost his patience and ordered the attack. He sent in the Medes and Scythians, expecting them to crush the Greeks easily. What happened next was a shock. The Greeks, with their superior armor, longer spears, and the unbreakable phalanx formation, held the line. In the narrow pass, the Persians' numbers were useless. They couldn't flank the Greeks, so they were forced into a head-on meat grinder. The Greeks fought in rotation, so they were always fresh. Their discipline was incredible. The historian Herodotus tells us they would even pretend to retreat, luring the Persians into a disorganized charge. Then they would turn and slaughter them. So, on the second day, he sent in the best of the best. His personal elite guard, the 10,000 immortals. They were called immortals because their number was always kept at exactly 10,000. If one fell, another immediately took his place. Surely they would succeed where others had failed. They didn't. The Greeks held the immortals, with their shorter spears and lighter armor, were no match for the Spartan-led phalanx in that narrow space. The pass was becoming a graveyard for the Persian army. For 2 full days, a handful of Greeks held back the mightiest empire on earth. It was a masterclass in strategy and courage. But every great story has a turning point, and this one has a tragic one. There was a local man named Ephialtes. Motivated by the promise of a great reward, he betrayed the Greeks. He went to Xerxes and told him about a hidden mountain path, a secret trail that could be used to get behind the Greek position. This was the Thermopylae path. It was a game changer. Xerxes immediately dispatched his immortals, led by their commander Hydarnes, to follow Ephialtes along this treacherous trail. During the night, the Persians marched. The path was guarded by 1,000 Phocians, allies of the Greeks. But they were caught completely by surprise. Hearing the rustle of thousands of feet through the oak leaves, they thought it was an attack on them and retreated to a higher position to defend themselves. But the Persians weren't interested in them. They just bypassed them and continued down the mountain right into the rear of the Greek army. By dawn on the 3rd day, Leonidas knew the end was near. Scouts had raced back to warn him that the pass was compromised. He was trapped. He called a council of war. His orders were clear. Most of the Greek allies were to retreat and save themselves. They needed to live to fight another day, to warn the other cities, and to prepare the main Greek army for the battles to come. But Leonidas and his 300 Spartans would stay. They knew the Spartan law: never retreat, never surrender. They would hold the pass to the last man to buy time for the retreating army. They weren't alone. Around 700 Thespians, led by their general Thermopylae, bravely chose to stay and die with the Spartans. A few hundred Thebans were also kept, perhaps as hostages, but they too fought. Now, the final battle began. The Greeks were surrounded, fighting on 2 fronts. Knowing this was their last moments, they no longer fought to hold a line. They fought to kill as many Persians as possible. They abandoned their defensive position in the narrowest part of the pass and advanced into the wider section, fighting with a fury born of desperation and honor. Leonidas, fighting at the very front, fell. A furious struggle erupted over his body, with the Greeks driving the Persians back 4 times to retrieve their fallen king. Spears shattered, so they fought with their short swords. Swords broke, so they fought with their hands and teeth. They were pushed back to a small hillock within the pass, making their final stand. Herodotus describes the scene. Here they defended themselves to the last, those who still had swords using them, and the others resisting with their hands and teeth. And so they fell, every single Spartan and Thespian, to the last man. They had held the pass for 3 days, inflicting massive casualties on the Persian army. And of the power of a few determined individuals to change the course of history. A monument was later erected on the site with an inscription that still gives me chills. It reads, "Go tell the Spartans, stranger passing by, that here, obedient to their laws, we lie." It's a powerful reminder of their duty, their discipline, and their ultimate sacrifice. The story of Leonidas and his men is a testament to the human spirit, showing that even in defeat, a victory for the ages can be won. Thanks so much for watching. What an incredible story, right? If you enjoyed this deep dive into history, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more. Let me know in the comments what other historical battles you'd like me to cover. Until next time, stay curious.